Hi crafty friends, Shana from ShanoukiArt. I'm working in my Dina Wakley Ledger Journal today. I have these flowers that I have kept. They're actually from an old calendar from 2018 and I've always loved them. So I think I'm going to try and use them in today's layout. I'm not quite sure how easy it is to see. They're actually a photo of sugar cookies. I love their bright colors and I love that they're so big so they suit the large journal. I normally work in small journals, so I haven't been able to use them until now. I cut it out all as one piece. I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to use it. So I thought I'll start with the background and see if I'm going to cut them apart later. We obviously don't want to lose that beautiful background of the ledger print, but we do need to cover some of it up. So I'm starting off with a little bit of gesso in certain areas. I'm not going to cover the entire thing. And I'm putting the gesso on quite thin so you can still see the ledger print from underneath. I'm also going to add a little bit of color. I'm going to use the colors from the flowers. So I've got like a turquoisey blue. This is actually metallic paint. It's just the only one I have really in this color. So I'm going to put a little bit here and there. And I'm also going to do a little bit of the lime green and the yellow. And then I'm using a baby wipe just to smooth it out. It gives it a beautiful blendy feel. And especially there where the gesso is still wet, where I've applied the color, it blends so well. For me, working in such a large journal is something new. I usually work in small scale. All my art journals are quite small, and I also do the altered playing cards. So filling up such a large surface is a bit of a challenge for me sometimes, but it's great pushing myself out of my comfort zone. At this point, I decided to separate the flowers. I'm going to keep the pink and blue together on one page, and then I'm going to put the green on the other. This also creates balance. If I had put them all together, the left-hand side of the page would have been really heavy. This distributes the focal point across both pages. But I really only have part of the green flower. It's not full, but I'll show you how I'm going to fix that. I tried to see if the piece that I cut could somehow make another petal, but that really wasn't going to happen. Now also adding some of the green. And a little bit of the bright pink. I'm not going to add too much pink because the flower is quite big and quite loud, but I do want to balance that color across both pages. And the middle area is quite bare, so I'm going to add a little bit more of the turquoise. And a bit more gesso to soften those edges. I'm going to dry all that well, and then I'm going to add some stenciling. I've got an alphabet stencil, and I'm just going to use gesso and a sponge and just go over some of the colored areas with the stencil. I'm not going to cover the entire page, and I'm doing it in white because I want it quite light. I wanted just to add a lighter element on the overall look. I want to do some writing on the right hand side, and there's still that middle section that is still just the raw background paper. So I need to lighten it up a bit so that my writing is going to show up. So I'm just going to add a bit more gesso in that section. Thin again so you can still see the underlying text shining through. I'm happy with that background, so I'm going to stick down my flowers. I'm just going to use a clear craft glue for this. So my green petals are a little bit chopped and missing, so I'm going to try and fix that. I'm going to use a pencil just to get the general shape of the petal, and then I have that off-cut piece that I had from the other piece that I'm going to sort of just cut into shape to try and see if I can help with the patchwork for that section. That's my daughter's hand that she's waving about while I'm filming to say hi to all of you. And now I'm going to use some green paint and try and paint that petal to match the others. So it doesn't have to be perfect, it's just got to try and fill out the space. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow and mix that together, sort of just to get that edging to match as much as possible. Sometimes you might not see results straight away, you just need to trust the process. I'm bringing some of that acrylic paint into the already existing petals to help with blending the entire thing. And then highlighting the yellow a little bit more. I think that should be fine. I'm going to add some definition by adding some black fine liner pen. I'm just going to go around each petal a couple of times, very freehand, very doodle-like, which will also help hide that painted petal a bit more and make it look more as if it's part of the entire thing. Don't ever overlook calendars. They sometimes have some really beautiful pictures or designs that you can use in your projects. I'm not sure about everywhere else in the world, but in Australia, even at like the $2 shops, you can get these calendars for about $2 or $2.50. And some have some beautiful images. I even have one with fairies that I've used in a couple of other projects. Always be on the lookout for interesting images to use, even if it takes you about 6 years to use them, like this one. And then, like I said earlier, I wanted to add some writing on the right-hand side. I normally like to add a quote, something inspiring, and I think it's just a nice touch on pages like this. I'm just going to add a bit more white to make that writing stand out, as I want to place it here on the right-hand side. I'm going to use a black Posca pen for this. I find it the best to write over, like gesso and acrylic paints. But of course, use whatever marker you're comfortable with or have in your stash. Even in quiet corners, flowers find the sun. I really hope you enjoyed this video of my ledger journal and calendar flowers. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. I hope you were inspired. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the little bell so you're notified every time I upload new content. Thanks again for watching. Happy creating, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.